Welcome to the Your Money Counts podcast. My name is Lisa Lopez. I'm the Senior Vice President of Deposit Operations at Marquette Savings Bank. And today I have with me Chad. So Chad, if you could tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do for the bank.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. I'm Chad Ball. I'm our Vice President, Business Banking Product Services Manager. So that means I handle all the cash management and deposits for business banking, and I work closely with operations and our business banking team to make sure all our customers have the services and technology that they need.
Wonderful. That's a lot, but thank you. Thank you for being here and sharing some time with us. So we're going to continue the fraud series and talk about what our customers, business customers in particular, can do to protect themselves from fraud. So let's start off by explaining to our listeners what fraud solutions are available for, the business customers in particular for their day-to-day.
Yeah, so our Marquette business online platform has a lot of different services that you can offer or that are offered to our customers, but we have two services that are offered for fraud protection. And in the world we live in today, fraud is becoming a hot topic, and especially with business customers. So we have two services, our Positive Pay service and then our ACH Positive Pay service. And both of those take care of different aspects of the business and what they can decision and make sure that their accounts are protected. So with the Positive Pay service, that's more for businesses that write a lot of checks or have checks coming out of their accounts, no matter how many accounts they have. And then ACH Positive Pay is for those customers that process ACH payments or have their account and routing number out in the world where they're sharing that out to make payments to wherever.
So you mentioned part of the process includes decisioning. Can you tell me a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, so the business logs in every day and looks at the transactions that are going in and out of their account. And on the front page of your online banking, when you log in, it's going to give you those items that you need to go in and decision and look at to authorize that these are correct coming in and out of the account or coming out of your account. So you would go in and select if you had 6 checks to decision on because they weren't on your file or they might be fraud checks. You have to select, yes, I did write these checks, and say approve that these checks are valid for your account. And the same thing would go for the ACH Positive Pay, and anything, any ACH transaction that was coming out of the account would pop into that front page where you'd go in and say, yes, I made that transaction with my account and routing number.
So it's like a validation.
Yep.
Yes, I want to pay this, or no, I want to return it.
Yes.
Okay.
And at that point, if you selected to reject, say, a check, it would not post on your account. And then we would reject the check and send it back to wherever it was trying to be cashed at.
Okay. So any business customer has the ability to have that access to those services? And how would they access those?
They log into their internet banking using their username and password, and it does authenticate when you log in, which is very important for the business to know that their data security is protected, whether they had just cleared their cache, done a system upgrade on their computer. It will re-authenticate to let the business verify that this is truly them logging in and that they're accessing their accounts.
So I know in the deposit operations area, we'll get complaints sometimes of why do I have to keep authenticating? So what you're saying is it's very important that authentication process is taking place just to make sure that the right person is logging in.
Yes, it verifies that it is that business, and the business can give access to multiple different people within their business by using the online platform and building profiles. So each one of those profiles that you've built out within your business, they will have their own login and password that makes them re-authenticate so it knows that that is that person for your business. Say you're using an accountant or you have a controller that you want to have access, and it will re-authenticate for them as well.
It sounds very secure to me. That's what we like. That's the name of the game here, to prevent the fraud. So Positive Pay is one of the options. You talked to that has a lot to deal with checks. Can you kind of walk me through what that looks like if I'm a business owner that writes a lot of checks?
Yeah, so our Positive Pay platform is out in your online banking. So when you log in, you will see that if you've activated it as a business. And when you log in, there's a decision process that takes place based on checks that you've written out of your account. So on a daily basis, you need to log in to verify all your activity, which is very important as a business to make sure that you're logging in daily, that you don't have transactions coming out of there or multiple transactions that maybe you did not authorize. So with Checks Positive Pay, it really looks at the checks that you've written out of the account or that you've not written out of the account that a fraudster may have written, and then you can decision that check, which is what the tool does for the business.
So how does it know if I've written a check or not?
So you have the ability as a business owner to load a check file. So if you do a check run every Friday or every day, you can load that check file in. It's in a Excel CSV format, and there's different fields that you need to add. Marquette's solution offers the account number, the routing number, the date, the amount, and we also offer the payee. That's the optional field, but if you're paying, say, a local company and you load that into the system that you've paid this person, the system will look to make sure that that's truly who you paid. And you load the dollar amount, say it's for $1,000. Maybe somebody got a hold of that check and added another zero, and the system would catch that because it does not match up with the file that you loaded. There's also the other option, say the business owner's running out of the office and they wanted to grab a check because they're going to a fundraiser and they don't know what it's going to be for. Later on that day, they can go in and enter in a one-off check where they don't have to load the file, or maybe they don't write a lot of checks, so they just do the one-off checks because it's very important to have it. Because if you're not looking at your checks coming in and out of your account and you only write you say you write a couple checks, well, somebody else could write a couple checks out of your account with the world we're living in today. And those checks, once they're written, you have to go through the process of trying to get that money back.
Right. So this is a way you're looking more frequently. The businesses don't have to wait for their statements to come once a month or, have to log in more than once a day. They can go through here and kind of keep finger on the pulse, right,
Yep.
of what's going on their account. So that's Positive Pay for checks. What's the difference between that and the...
So ACH Positive Pay is if you've got say you're paying your credit card company online and you've entered in your routing and account number so that you can pay your credit card company.
Okay.
Think of how many places that you've put in your account and routing number. All of those transactions that come through will process in our online bank platform for you to go in and decision on a daily basis. So you need to go in and decision those items that they are okay to pay. Say you're paying for your credit card and it pops in that you made that payment yesterday. You need to go in and approve that so that it will actually process. But we have the fraudsters that are trying to do the 2 cent, 3 cent, 4 cent transactions where they're trying to make sure that that is a valid account number that they have. And then they hit you for a big number where it's $4,000 or $5,000 because you haven't reported that or you haven't been looking at your daily activity.
Right.
And as you're building and approving those, it adds that business or that to the company ID that you've approved to a list that automatically approves going forward. So if you're paying the same vendor, the company ID is built into our system that the business can maintain within online banking. If they ended up not needing to pay that customer or that person going forward, they can go in and maintain that business and remove that or see all the businesses that they have approved in the past.
So it sounds like it's just, again, being able to be aware of what's coming through the account because we don't want to run an overdraft due to fraud. I know there's, certain time parameters around when you can notify the bank. So, the clock starts ticking when you're like, hey, there's some fraud. And it's really important for customers to be able to say, hey, I caught this right away, can decision it right now, gets returned, on to the next. Is there a fee or a cost to use these services?
Yeah, so our Marquette accounts for these two services, it's $20 a month for each one. So if you had both, it would be $40 a month. But that's protection on your account. And the accounts that Marquette provides are free checking accounts based on the volume that goes into the accounts and what type of account you're set up in. So
So it seems $20 seems a pretty fair price to pay for some peace of mind. I do know check fraud is rampant. We've done a couple other podcasts. I think the one Corey Boyd did recently talked about 5 different kinds of check scams. So I'm sure that the businesses probably have just as many going on.
Yes, we've seen definite increase in check fraud and ACH fraud. If you think about checks that you've written that have your account number on, that maybe that person's not shredding it correctly or they're throwing it in the garbage, somebody's going to get a hold of your account routing number. And at that point, you can enter it into anything for somebody to be able to have access to your account and pay their own bills. And if you're not looking at your day-to-day activity, that's where this comes in, where it creates a habitual process for that business owner so that they can log in the morning. Has to be before 11 a.m. Every morning they log in, they make the decision, and that becomes habit by the business owner after they've been set up on this.
And so if they forget to make a decision, what might happen in that case?
So if you forget to make a decision on a check, our operations team gets notified of that, and then we reach out to the business and verify, are all of these checks valid? Did they come out of your account? Did you write these or sign these? But if you forget to make the decision by 11 o'clock, then there's an additional fee that comes into place because there's additional work that takes place in order for that check to get approved and cashed. But the check still gets approved and cashed, and the consumer that's cashing that or the consumer that you've paid doesn't see the difference in timing because you haven't decisioned that.
Important to know. So, Chad, are there other things customers can do to protect themselves from fraud outside of the ACH positive pay or the checks positive pay services?
Yeah. So, I mean, we think that it's very important that all businesses take their security into their own hands. I mean, we have companies around the area that work on information security and have data security and making sure that all businesses have updated virus software on computers and updated firewalls. And if you need to call to have software implemented, that you're working with the correct people from that company. But the main thing is that the business takes that into their own hands and protecting themselves, because we have the solutions that we can offer to protect a bank account, but it is on the customer to take care of their bank account and take care of their money and take care of their business. These are solutions that help aid that, but the business needs to be proactive in protecting themselves.
Sure, because there could be a liability there to the business itself if they don't have certain protocols in there, or if they don't, like we talked about, some of those timeframes. So protecting themselves against that liability sounds pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, timing is key, and that's why it's great for these services to get the business in the habit of logging in every day and looking at their accounts, whether that's with Marquette or another financial institution. It's very important that they're protecting themselves, because that's your business and that's what you need to do.
Sure. Is there anything else you think it's important to know about why businesses should have, fraud protection tools in their internet banking specifically, or what that should look like?
I just think that it's very important for businesses to know that this software is out there. I'm sure that people have heard about positive pay or ACH positive pay, authorization, as you called it. They've heard about it. I'm sure that there's discussions between businesses, but for the business to have it hands-on at their computer, they can log in and make the decision on a device and really protect their accounts. It's just peace of mind, so that with the world we're living in, we've seen an increase in both of these fraud, and there's a lot of work that goes into it from a business standpoint and from a bank standpoint on getting money back, if we're able to get money back, and also having to switch accounts. So
Right.
If this has happened to you and you've had these ACH from where a fraudster's gotten a hold of your account, our recommendation is to switch your account. But if you have these services in place, you've blocked them from the start. And from the start, then they know that those authorizations that they tried to put through aren't going to happen, because this business is watching their accounts on a daily basis.
So it's a very proactive approach. I know a lot of times we'll hear in the operations department, immediately as soon as some fraud has been caught and it's check or ACH related, then they're like, okay, what do I need to do to get positive pay and positive, ACH positive pay? So really the name of the game is be proactive before the fraud takes place on the account. Save yourself the headache.
Yeah. I think that all businesses should have this on their account, especially for the peace of mind for $20 a month for each of them. I mean, if you're not writing checks out of your account, then the positive pay, if you don't have checks ordered for that account, positive pay is not a requirement for that. But ACH positive pay and anybody that can have access to that account number, it's a great service to protect yourself.
Sounds like it. Well, thank you, Chad. And thank you for listening to this episode of Your Money Counts podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you can get episodes as they are released. The Your Money Counts podcast is brought to you by Marquette Savings Bank, an equal housing lender, member FDIC.